Today, we are journeying back in time to one of the most courageous and pivotal chapters of World War II, the story of the French resistance. When France fell in 1940, it seemed like all hope was lost. But in the shadows, a quiet, defiant spirit began to stir. This is the story of ordinary people who became extraordinary heroes, fighting a secret war against overwhelming odds. It all started with a voice crackling over the radio waves. On June 18, 1940, just days after the armistice was signed, a French general in London, Charles de Gaulle, made a broadcast to the people of France. He declared, "Whatever happens, the flame of French resistance must not be extinguished and will not be extinguished." This speech, heard by only a few at the time, was the spark that would ignite a nationwide movement. In the beginning, resistance was small and scattered. It was a high school teacher printing an underground newspaper in their basement, a housewife sheltering a downed Allied airman, or a postman secretly passing messages. These were small acts of defiance, but they were incredibly dangerous. Discovery meant torture, deportation to concentration camps, or immediate execution. Yet people did it anyway, driven by a profound love for their country and a refusal to accept defeat. As the occupation wore on, these small groups began to connect, forming complex networks across the country. They called themselves names like Combat, Liberation Sud, and Franc-Tireur. The resistance wasn't a single army. It was a mosaic of different people from all walks of life. Communists, socialists, conservative Catholics, artists, students, farmers, and even aristocrats put aside their differences to unite against a common enemy. Their diversity was their strength. A farmer could hide weapons in his barn. A railway worker could report on German troop movements. And a sophisticated Parisian socialite could gather intelligence from high-ranking German officers. Everyone had a role to play in this clandestine war. One of the most vital and daring aspects of the resistance was sabotage. The goal was to disrupt the German war machine in any way possible, making France a logistical nightmare for the occupying forces. The Plan Vert, or Green Plan, targeted the railways. Resistance fighters, known as Maquisards, would sneak out in the dead of night to blow up railway tracks, derailing trains carrying troops and supplies to the front lines. They became experts in using plastic explosives, often delivered in parachute drops by British Special Operations Executive, or SOE, agents. Imagine the courage it took to plant a charge on a bridge, knowing a German patrol could appear at any moment. Then there was the Plan Tortue, or Turtle Plan, aimed at paralyzing road transport. They would fell trees across key roads, lay down carpets of nails, thousands of sharp four-pointed caltrops to puncture tires and ambush German convoys. And we can't forget the Plan Violet, which focused on cutting telephone and telegraph lines. On the eve of the D-Day landings in 1944, over 1,000 telephone cables were cut by resistance fighters across France. This act plunged the German command structure into chaos, isolating units and preventing them from coordinating a response to the Allied invasion. The German military was effectively deaf and dumb at the most critical moment. These saboteurs weren't just men. Women played an absolutely crucial role in the resistance, a fact that has often been overlooked. They served as couriers, their seemingly innocent shopping baskets concealing radio parts or forged documents. They ran escape lines, guiding Allied soldiers and Jewish families to safety across the Pyrenees Mountains into Spain. Women like Nancy Wake, an Australian living in France, nicknamed the White Mouse by the Gestapo for her ability to evade capture, became legendary figures. She was a brilliant organizer and fighter, leading thousands of Maquisards in sabotage operations. These women faced the same, if not greater, risks as their male comrades. The intelligence they gathered was priceless. The resistance created a vast network of spies that fed information directly to the Allies in London. They reported on German troop strengths, coastal defenses, and factory outputs. This information was vital in planning strategic bombing raids and, most importantly, the D-Day landings. Resistance agents painstakingly mapped out the German fortifications along the Normandy coast, a network of bunkers and gun emplacements known as the Atlantic Wall. Thanks to their detailed reports, the Allies knew exactly what they were facing when they hit the beaches on June 6, 1944. General Eisenhower himself later stated that the efforts of the resistance were worth 15 divisions to the Allied war effort. But this heroism came at a staggering cost. The German secret police, the Gestapo, and the French collaborationist milice were ruthless in their hunt for resistance members. They used a network of informants and brutal interrogation methods to break the resistance cells. Jean Moulin, one of the most important figures in uniting the various resistance movements under de Gaulle, was captured and tortured to death without ever revealing any information. Thousands upon thousands of others shared a similar fate. Entire villages were sometimes destroyed in reprisal for resistance activity. The village of Oradour-sur-Glane stands as a haunting memorial, where over 600 inhabitants were massacred by an SS company in June 1944. Being a resistor meant living with constant fear, trusting few, and knowing that every day could be your last. The French resistance rose up across the country in a national insurrection. The Maquis openly attacked German garrisons and liberated towns and villages. The most symbolic moment of this uprising was the liberation of Paris in August 1944. While Allied forces were approaching the city, the Parisian resistance, led by Henry Roll-Tanguy, launched an uprising. Barricades went up in the streets, just as they had in revolutions past. For a week, Parisians fought a fierce street-by-street battle against the German garrison. When the Free French 2nd Armored Division finally rolled into the city, they found it already largely in the hands of its own people. The story of the French resistance is a powerful testament to the resilience of the human spirit. It shows that even in the darkest of times, when a nation is on its knees, the will to be free cannot be extinguished. It was a war fought not by generals in grand headquarters, but by ordinary citizens in the streets, fields, and mountains of their homeland. They proved that courage, ingenuity, and an unbreakable love for liberty could challenge even the most powerful of tyrants. Their legacy is a reminder that one person, one small act of defiance, can indeed change the course of history. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the hidden history of World War II.